Thank you.
Lovely. You could.
Yeah,
Thank you, sir.
sure.
Thank you very much, sir.
Right. We're now looking at our next session. This is our last, but definitely not the least session of the day. Sri S.K. Bhalla is now here. He is the Senior Deputy Director, Telecom Security at National Telecommunications Institute for Policy Research, Innovation and Training at the Ministry of Communications in the Government of India. They've done some extensive work which aims at capacity building and also enabling research in technologies and policies within the telecom domain in India. And I'm sure he has a lot of interesting things to share with us. Today, specifically, he's talking about online safeguards. And we've had a lot of extensive conversations about privacy and security and the dark web. And I'm sure we're all wondering, how does one really stay safe online, especially as youth? We are extremely vulnerable. So so this is basically just to wrap up so that we don't go back feeling scared. This is an awareness session on just some kind of safeguards that we will be able to take. And I now hand over the space to you, sir.
Okay, good evening, everyone, and hope I am audible.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I'll just get into the session straight away because I think we all would like to wind up by 5 o'clock, I suppose. So we have
Sure,
time
sir.
up to 5. Okay,
Yes, sir.
so what I am going to cover is online safeguards and with reference to cyber security and cyber crime. So I propose to cover. I'll talk about cyber security in brief. I'll talk about cyber crime from a layman's perspective. What are the challenges for youth? I'll touch upon institutional mechanism in our country and also online safeguards towards the end, and throughout the session also we'll be talking about online safeguards. So I would request all of you to have a look at this particular slide. I personally call all the kids who are born after 1990 as children born with a cyber spoon. So why I say so is that today, when a child is born, the first thing we do is that show that photograph of the child or let the child play with the mobile phone, and the child is also very happy playing and fiddling with the mobile phone to find out what are the features, and he enjoys everything. So when we relate this particular our art of using mobile phones for any type of communication, let us have an analogy of a person who knows swimming. Now swimming, knowing swimming, how fast you can do, what type of swimmings you can do, but at the same time, do we know that we need to check the temperature of water, the length of distance to be covered in a pool, whether we can cover that or not? Can we straight away jump into a river or sea? We need to understand the depth of water also. We also need to understand whether the water in front of us is safe to swim or not. Whether there are toxins, we don't know. No threats from water animals. And believe me, the whole cyberspace is just like a sea of information, connectivity, where we have to educate ourselves with the wisdom so that we know when to dive, how much to dive, when to swim, when to stand away and just watch, all those things. And in this session, I'll try to cover some of the aspects pertaining to this wisdom. So I understand that since morning, you all had been exposed to various aspects of cyber security, data privacy, and in the previous session also experts were deliberating on cyber security. But just for the reference purposes, it is protection of computer system and networks from the theft of or damage to their hardware, software, or electronic data, as well as from the disruption of or misdirection of the services they provide. In short, You all have, you must have read, those of you who are engineers, you must have come across these three terms widely being used: confidentiality, integrity, and availability of information. So there is a fourth dimension also, which many people, many experts associate with cyber security, that is called as non-repudiation. That means if I say something to others, then there must be some proof. Later on, I should not back out that I didn't say that or I didn't do that. So confidentiality, integrity, and availability. I was just going through the chat in the previous session. I understand that people participating in this session are very concerned about confidentiality and integrity. Let me just touch upon these three aspects with examples. On your screen, there is a pictures. I would request all of you to, after the session, you can, or even within the session, you can go to your mobile phone. If you are having Android or iPhone, just go to your places visited, your history of, because location, your phone keeps track of all your details. So when I checked up my mobile about 4 years ago, then I found that wherever my location was on, it captures everything and it stored everything. It knows up to the extent that route which I took to visit a particular place across the world, in which hotels I have stayed, for how many days I stayed in that hotel, which cities I have visited. I was on tour to a particular location, but officially I was at one place, but I have visited some other places also. So now you can understand, in today's world, when the corporate sector is using mobile device management, that means the company is putting some software to monitor the employee's phone in the name of securing their information assets. In all probability, they can find out what an employee was doing on a particular official trip. So my request to you is, kindly have a look at the privacy settings in your phone and ensure that you don't give permissions which are not required for the purpose of work which you are trying to do. Another thing is, hope you can say, fortunately nowadays both the major phone providers are providing many, you can say, features in their operating system to allow us to control our privacy. So just see, on the first side you will see Samsung Notes, and below that there are two sections: permissions allowed and permissions denied. So this particular user has allowed only microphone and storage for Samsung Notes, but at the same time camera is not allowed, context is not allowed, location is not allowed, telephone is not allowed. Then there is another application, camera. You can see their camera, picture taking is allowed, location is allowed, microphone is allowed, storage is allowed, but and there is no permission denied. Now should we trust what it is being shown to the user? Now it says no permission denied, but trust me, there are many apps available which might be showing you something else and doing something behind the scenes. So be very careful. Similarly, you can see at the third screen, fast scanner. It is taking permission, camera and storage, no other permission. But if you remember, there was a lot of controversy about one particular scanner app, CamScan, which was later on, the bug was later on corrected also. The company also admitted, and it was pertaining to some adware kind of application within that software. Now we all are using WhatsApp in a big way, and we love to use our desktop to access our WhatsApp for the convenience purposes only, because it's very easy to type a long text and you can put in a lot of pictures and other things. Instead of using your mobile phones, we use our desktops or laptops. Now, my request to all of you is, be very cautious when you tick the keep me signed in feature here or the option here. Why? I was heading Indian Cybercrime Coordination for about 1.5 years. I'll talk it about later. And we came across many cases where children, students, even professionals used somebody else mobile, you can say desktop or laptop, for a while, and they accessed their WhatsApp, and later on their WhatsApp account was used to send such an abusive material to their known member, and they filed the complaint with police. And the only thing which we found later on was that, in case you you can say just doubt that you might have used your WhatsApp account in somewhere else, just go to your WhatsApp and log out from all the accounts immediately. So that this is a very important thing for all of us to be very sure that no access should be used on any shared machine for storing your credentials. Be very cautious, be it is a cyber cafe or a university, you can say, place or a library, wherever you are working, or even in some conferences, we used free internet resources. Be very cautious never to share your credentials or store your credentials on shared machines. Now, what is driving the whole internet across the world? This is a diagram taken from internet only. You can just for the reference purposes. My concern is in India, we have over 115 crore mobile phone users, over 50 crore internet users, and there is a drive from government of India, digital India, e-governance, and especially during Corona times, we have very aggressively promoted e-payments, and all these government services are being delivered through various portals, and this requires that government also needs to take a lot of precautions to ensure that the users data as well as the services which are delivered, they are delivered in a safe and secure manner. So for all of us, the points to ponder are: what is our trust in security of e-commerce, mobile banking? Do you trust the authenticity of SMS which you receive, the content of that SMS or WhatsApp message or the email which we receive? Do we know how to distinguish between a genuine email or a spoofed email? So this is where I was talking about in the first slide. You may be knowing swimming, but you need to understand how much to dive, when to dive, how much to swim, what to trust, what not to trust. Your experience on in cyberspace about the confidentiality of your things which you do, the integrity of information which you put on, you can say, cyberspace. For example, there had been cases where morphing is done. Your pictures which are posted there, they will just pick those pictures, and the head of that particular picture will be put on some other photograph which is nasty and trying to spoil image of somebody else. You issue a check or online transaction for 100 rupees, and actually the amount debited is 1000 rupees. That is integrity. So availability, you need money in the night, you go to ATM and it's not available. ATM is out of service. So is it planned, it is intentional, or it is because of some other reasons? It depends about our experience and the reasons behind that. So you might have noticed that in cyberspace, whenever you go to YouTube, the advertisements which appear on the screen are related to your choice of the songs or the videos which you try to watch. Facebook and other social media also allow you to control the ad behavior. You can choose ads according to your taste. You just send email with some content to somebody, and after few minutes and or maybe immediately you will start noticing advertisements pertaining to the subject which you might have typed in that particular email. How did it happen? On one hand, all these people are saying that your email content is known only to you, it is encrypted end to end, something like that. But at the same time, how do ads appear matching to the content which was written in that particular email? You might have seen very you can say common thing. You type an attachment word in your email, and immediately while sending, if you don't attach, you will get a message alert. There seems to be no attachment in your mail. How did that computer or the server came to know that you were expected to have some attachment with it? So now the message must be clear to all of us that we need to be very cautious not to trust the whole cyberspace blindly. Now let us talk briefly about cybercrime. The use of cyberspace to cause harm to victim. The computer can be a target or computer can be a tool to commit some unlawful activity. So in general, in India, most of the crime, 60%, around 60% are of financial nature. Some cyber crimes are targeted at reputation of the victim. Some your time and effort. I just for fun purposes hack a computer and delete everything, and I know that the person will be putting in a lot of now effort and time to recreate that whole information, or will be just disturbed mentally. So there could be manipulating behavior also. You might have we might be remembering about Blue Whale and some other kind of games. That is psyche, you can say management of the victim. So there are plethora of definitions, job frauds, matrimonial frauds, social engineering, all those terms you might have come across, cyberbullying, obscenity, hacking, cyber terrorism, radicalization, denial of service attacks. I'll not get into all those nitty gritty of these terms, but my message to all of you is that we need to be very aware about what we post, what we forward, and what others send to us. Both things are important for us. One is from our side, we should know the good behavior for as a netizen, and at the same time, if something wrong comes to us or somebody is trying to harm us, we should know how to protect ourselves. And as a good citizen and a good Samaritan, what is our role in preventing any harm happening to others also. So you might have come across these type of SMS or WhatsApp very frequently. Your income tax, or you have won a lottery, or you have won a prize, something like that, or your insurance is likely to expire, your policy is likely to expire. Contact us at this. And the purpose of showing you this particular screenshot is you can see there are tiny URLs. So URL shortening links have been used, and it's not easy to find out what where this link is actually likely to take you. And in today's world, the moment you click, the moment you reach a particular website, there are scripts available which will get activated without your consent, and malware will be implanted in your machine and damage is done. So we have to be very, very cautious. So there are nowadays many antivirus available which will tell you when you search something, it will show a green tick, safe to browse. So safe to browse means there's a high probability that the site has been checked by the search engine or the antivirus company, whichever you have subscribed to, that the site which you are likely to surface. And other thing is on the screen, you can say on the browser bar, you might have come across many times the red lock button, which indicates or not to save, not to browse. So be very cautious when you come across these kind of things. HTTPS, all of you know, I need not elaborate much. So HTTP is just an indication that communication from your machine to the end machine is encrypted. It doesn't say that the end machine can be trusted. It is only for you to decide whether to trust the end machine or not. So HTTPS is indicating only that it is a secure connection. So your connection with the rogue machine could also be secure. Ransomware. So you might have come across this term number of times in the last few years. The only lesson here is regular backups. So you might be losing 2 hours, 3 hours data, but it is better to have something in your control, especially the organizations, the banks, and the people who are managing crucial data, financial data. So it is very important to have not online backups, but backups in such a manner that even your main machine gets compromised, you can still restore data from your backups. Now, let us talk about the challenges for youth. Now, youth, the young age is very experimenting, very curious, very adventurous. And I have seen my son also, who is so, you can say his hands play so fast on the mobile phone without just tick, 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 and thing is done. So I always see, have you read the terms and conditions? No, 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 it's safe. It is by Google, Play Store, or iOS. Can you trust it? You have to be very, very cautious. Although the basic checks Google Play Store and Apple iOS might be doing, but it is not a guarantee that the terms and conditions are, you can say, trying to exploit later on something for which you have given a consent blindly. The second is blind trust in cyberspace. Authenticity concerns permanence. So whatever you post in cyberspace or in digital form, take it for granted that it is going to stay forever. There are forensic tools. In the previous session also something was talked about forensics, Data Security Council of India. So in this session I'll be talking something about forensics. So today you delete, you press shift delete, there are tools available which will be able to retrieve from your hard disk anything, from your mobile phone anything, from your SIM card, from your memory card anything to a large extent. And even if you are not storing it somewhere, even if you are typing, there are technologies available which can capture your keystrokes from a distance of 5 feet, 10 feet. So they know what you are typing. They can capture even minute electromagnetic radiations to capture whatever is being transmitted on a data cable. Abundant information is available in the cyberspace. That's ease of access. High-tech information is available. Violent information is available. Obscenity is available. Choice is ours. What to do and what to see. So hacking tools are available. All nuisance creation software are available. Bomb creation tool is also, development tool is also available. Techniques are available. So what to see, what not to see. You might have come across parental controls. So you need to be educated about all those tools in depth so that you can use cyberspace in a safe and secure manner. So anonymity. So many time what many people feel is that cyberspace offers me anonymity. I can use VPNs, I can use proxies, and I can do anything. And in all probability, I'll not be caught. So let me clarify here. Attribution is a challenge for law enforcement agencies, but it is not impossible. Even the virtual private network VPN providers are supposed to store a lot of information when they deliver services to you. So whenever a lawful order is given to virtual VPN providers, many times they do share information publicly. They may say that we don't store, we don't do anything, but believe me, they will not be able to survive in market if they don't cooperate with law enforcement agencies for their lawful requests. Because let us say if terrorist is making use of VPNs to communicate something, that bombs are being to be exploded in times to come, and it is found by law enforcement that such and such VPN service was being used. So do you think VPN service provider can escape punishment? Law in our country is also having sufficient teeth. Information Technology Act 2000, amended in 2008, has got section 84B, which talks about abatement charge. So whatever you might have done, if it is proved that you aided or you didn't comply with the requests of law enforcement agencies in nabbing that culprit, the person can be penalized. Greed, quick gains. Many times youngsters as well as old people, they are greedy, and in just to get quick gains, they will be happy to hack somebody's email account or WhatsApp account or plant malware in somebody's handset. So these are the challenges. Basic human nature to help. So many times you might have come across that nowadays many cases are coming up where fake Facebook profiles are being created, or somebody's email account is being taken over and email is being sent to all their known contacts saying that I am in trouble. And how do they prove that I am in trouble? I have shown you one slide where uh, wherever the person has visited in the last 2 years, last 1 week, etc., is available. So if somebody has got access to your email account, Gmail account, so Gmail is synced with all your other accounts, and the person will be able to see where you have traveled, where you have stayed. So they will be able to create a personalized message for your known people, and they will be, because they will be knowing that you have actually gone there. So once they say that I am in trouble, I am in urgent need of help, I don't have any bank account here, so I am giving you a special bank account number, kindly transfer 1,000 rupees, 5,000, 10,000 rupees to that. And we all are, you can say, our nature is to help our known people. So by mistake or by just mistrust, we'll be transferring that money and we'll be losing our money. So another thing, I won't say that all youth, but in general, youth act first and think later. So my request to, my message to all of you is that younger generation needs to have a lot of self-control when they adventure into cyberspace. Now let us talk about institutional mechanism in our country. You might have read Indian Constitution. Even if you have not read Constitution, let me just tell you in simple terms. As per our Constitution, police and public order are state subjects. So it means if any crime happens, it will be dealt by the concerned state or union territory police authorities only, not by central government. So central government has got right to take action only in very select cases like narcotics, enforcement directorate, terrorism like NIA is there, National Investigation Agency is there. So interesting thing is communication or cyber is a central subject. So Government of India controls it. So that is IT Act belongs to Government of India. Its enforcement is with states as well as with central government. The application of IT Act for offences is with the state governments. Before IT Act was enacted, and even as on day, Indian Penal Code is the primary thing which applies to any offense which takes in cyberspace. So we need to have some idea about Indian Penal Code and the IT Act. Some of the things which I'll just tell you for your reference, IT Act talks about hacking. IT Act talks about Section 67A, Section 7B. Child talks about sexually explicit and obscene content, child pornography. So we have to be very, very cautious as young generation people. You can say students or younger lot might be very much interested in watching all that stuff sitting in their closed doors. But be very cautious. As per IT Act, transmission, storage, etc. is illegal, punishable up to imprisonment of 5 years, 7 years also. So be very, very cautious. Don't get into that trap. If somebody is caught, there is no escape. Then Indian Penal Code, I'll not get into those nitty-gritties. Implementing and contributing bodies, some of the bodies Dr. Gulshan Rai also talked about in the previous session. So Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, Ministry of Communications, Ministry of Home Affairs, and Ministry of Women Child Development. These are the main ministries at the central level which are responsible for cyber security, cyber safety, and cyber crime. Okay, so I'll just give you a snapshot of the whole ecosystem in our country, and I'll touch upon some details also. Now, you can just on your screen, you can see at the bottom, it is written as NSCS, National Security Council Secretariat, where a special post is there, National Cyber Security Coordinator. And I could see that Dr. Gulshan Rai was telling Ida that in future, don't forget about mentioning that he was the first person to be posted as National Cyber Security Coordinator. And he did give a lot of good foundation to this new office. Now you can see here states and union territories on your left hand side at the bottom. So they are the agencies, the police forces are responsible for tackling with cyber crime. So when we say cyber crime, if you lost money, if your credit card is cloned, if somebody has put your you can say wrong photograph in cyberspace, where do you go? So you have to approach local police only. Although now the government for the last 2 years has given the option of filing e-complaints also without visiting police station. Anybody can file report an incident online. I'll talk about that in subsequent slide. Then there is NCIIPC, National Critical Information Infrastructure Protection Center, which takes care of 6 critical sectors in our country: telecom, transport, banking, insurance, financial you can say sector, power sector, and government sector, and IT. So whosoever is interested, they can visit this NCIIPC, what it does. Then Ministry of Electronics and IT. Lot of work is being done by Ministry of Electronics and IT. You might be knowing they issue .in domain names. They also issue .gov.in domain names. Okay. So what is the advantage of .gov.in domain? It is very difficult to spoof it. Okay. So because .gov is given only to government departments after due diligence. Nobody else can get that domain. You might have come across in recently last week, SBI has purchased tld.sbi. So all their websites will be ending with .sbi, and nobody in the world will be able to have .sbi without their permission. So now you can be very sure that when you are visiting any SBI site, if there is .sbi at the end, you can take it as safe or that take it as a genuine site of State Bank of India. So Ministry of Electronics and IT also got certain. They have also NCCC, National Cyber Coordination Center. They have STQC, Standardization, Testing and Quality Control. They have many bodies within MIT. So my suggestion to all of you would be that you can visit their website and try to find out what are the things, or if this session would have been of at least 1 hour or 1.5 hours, I would have covered all those you can say sections also. Then there is Ministry of Home Affairs. So Ministry of Home Affairs has become active in cyberspace for the last 4 or 5 years in a big way. Earlier it was not that active, but in the last 2 years it has taken many good initiatives, and two of those initiatives are, one is cyber crime prevention against women and children scheme, which has led to creation of a new portal, cybercrime.gov.in. Then another scheme which has been implemented in Government of India, it is Indian Cybercrime Coordination Center. So I was fortunate to be the founder of that I4C. So it has got 7 components to take care of cyber safety and cyber crime management within the country. So it takes care of easy availability of option of reporting online incidents. So my suggestion to all of you would be go to cybercrime.gov.in and explore all type of cyber crimes are listed there. You can pick the heading, you can file a complaint, and you will get an acknowledgement number, and online it goes to the concerned state and union territory, and the local police will take it forward. Another thing which recently Ministry of Home Affairs has, through I4C, has done is, if anybody has lost money through any wallet like Paytm, MobiKwik, or any other wallet, or even credit card fraud, they can just make a call to police. There's a pilot project going in Delhi. So they can just make a call on 155260 number, give the details. Immediately, the details will be flashed to the concerned wallet company to start with, and wallet company will block that transaction immediately. So if you are fast in respond, you can say intimating the police, within 5 or 10 minutes, police might be able to freeze that fraudulent transaction. You may be able to get your money back after 3 days, 5 days, or 10 days of investigation, but the fraudster will never get that money. So remember, fraudster needs to spend that money which they receive fraudulently, either by withdrawing from ATMs or by making some online transactions. So the window is only 30 minutes within which we can take action to secure our, you can say, money which we have lost by mistake. Okay, so be very careful. My request to all of you would be to visit that cybercrime.gov.in and find it for yourself. What are the other features? Then there is Ministry of Defense. Now they have come up with a Defense Cyber Agency, DCYA, Tri-Command, one cyber agency. And why it is being required? Because in times to come, and even nowadays, the war will be not through tanks and guns or AK-47. Most of the war will be information warfare and through taking down economies. If your whole banking network is taken down, if your national grid is taken down, if your whole, you can say, education sector is taken down, if your supply chain is taken down, because everything is operating electronically through the information highway only. So MOD has set up this agency to take care of. Then there are sectoral regulators. In the previous session also, people were talking about financial regulators, RBI. So RBI has got a very good now their own agency called as REBIT, REBIT. I would suggest kindly visit that. So it's a private company set up by RBI, which takes care of all IT requirements of financial sector, including helping in developing standards for or APIs for connecting various banking resources. Then there are sectoral certs. And at present power cert is there, financial sector cert is there, and telecom cert is there. Besides the national computer emergency response time, which Dr. Gulshan Rai mentioned about in the previous session. Then in our country, we have OEMs, original equipment manufacturers, and suppliers. They are also taking care of developing equipments where security is embedded by design. Okay, so there are software developers. Certain has got you can say system in place of certified empaneled auditors, IT auditors. In the previous session, there was a talk about ISO 27001, which is a information security management system standard. Certification is possible against ISO 27001. So the software developers, it is mandatory for them to get their websites, their applications audited from a certain panel auditor before they make it live. But remember, it doesn't mean it takes care of your privacy. So unless we have strong privacy laws, for which Government of India is already in that process, so in times to come, developers will be required to embed or put security by design in their apps. At present, they might be ignoring something. Okay. So then there are industry initiatives. In the previous session, there was a talk about NASSCOM, Data Security Council of India. They were talking about their association with the Karnataka Police about Cyber Lab. So there are many industry bodies which are taking a lot of initiatives to strengthen cyber security in our country. So I treat all unpaneled security auditors also as part of industry initiative. Okay, then there are IITs, triple ITs, and other academia. So there are many center of excellence set up across the country in IITs, triple ITs, NITs, and in private university colleges also. So I am just covering everything under the term academia. So for example, NASSCOM has set up IoT Center of Excellence in Bengaluru. IIT Delhi has got Center of Excellence in IoT as well as 5G. IIT Madras is doing a lot of work in 5G. So they are even to the extent of developing coming out with some new standards in 5G. Then there are Telecom Center of Excellences by Department of Telecommunications. So which are taking a lot of initiatives in developing new prototypes to take care of robust telecom security. Then there is Department of Telecommunications, under which there are various wings. My institute, National Telecommunications Institute for Policy Research and Innovation and Training, is also under Department of Telecommunications. Just one line about the institute. The institute imparts training to Indian Telecom Services Group A officers of Government of India, who are responsible for inspections and audits and ensuring that the rights of mobile users, telecom users in our country are protected. Okay, so a lot of audit work is done by DOT officers, and my institute also imparts training to ITEC, Indian Technical and Economic Cooperation. Various countries across the world send their participants to our training center, and we also have started giving training to APT, Asia Pacific Telecommunity, their participants, and one course will be starting on Monday on disaster management for participants from about 20 countries. Then we have Telecom Regulatory Authority of India, and then there is another organization called as SETS, Society for Electronic Transactions and Security, which is operating under the Principal Scientific Advisor to Government of India. So I have just tried to give you a glimpse of prominent, you can say, bodies which are helping us strengthen the cyber ecosystem in our country. There are many other, you can say, agencies which might be, you can say, helping us, but these are the prominent ones. Now, the session is too short to give you a lot of hints about the online safeguards. So I am giving you one resource, which I would suggest that all of you kindly find time to go through just for half an hour also. Okay, that half an hour might be good enough to get a glimpse of what Government of India is trying to do for all of us. So there is a Information Security Education and Awareness portal from Government of India. It is operated by CDEC under Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology. So you can find here, there are various sections. For children, what are the safeguards? For student, what are the safeguards? For women, for family, police, teacher, government employees, organizations. So different categories are there. Just go there and find out what suits best for your requirements. Okay. So for your information, on the request of Indian Cybercrime Coordination Center, NCERT has agreed to incorporate cyber safety in their curriculum of 9th and 10th class. And slowly from, you can say, lower classes also, cyber will be a subject in the normal curriculum of all of the young generation. And other portal which I would suggest to all of you is cybercrime.gov.in. For all of you, there is a new scheme which has been introduced by Ministry of Home Affairs, that is called as Cyber Volunteers. So pilot project is going on. I find that most of you are very tech savvy and very interested in, you can say, contributing to country's security and safety of netizens within our country. So kindly explore that feature, Cyber Volunteers. You all can be part of, you can say, the strong team of Government of India, where you can report a lot of obscene content, you can report unlawful content, content related which you feel that can instigate riots, you feel it is pertaining to terrorism, you can report that content, and that content at the back end is examined by experts and taken up with concerned intermediaries to take it off from Indian cyberspace, not from the world. Why I'm saying so? Because international consensus is only for child sex abuse material, nothing else. And the second consensus which has happened in the last few years is on terror related content. So if any content on internet is promoting terrorism, it will be taken off permanently from all resources across the world. But other than that, it is depending upon the individual community guidelines of that particular social media platform. So content in India, we may find it very objectionable. In other parts of the world, it may not be objectionable. Okay. So just to find time to go through this. So lastly, about the safeguards, my suggestion to all the youngster is self-control. Don't be too adventurous. I still remember in my times when I was in college, there was very less material on in cyberspace. When I started my office, we had access to internet, but we didn't have much time to explore internet in that big way, which you people are doing. So even for study purposes, you might be finding a lot of material in cyberspace, like some study notes, some PowerPoint presentations from cyberspace. So don't take them as blindly. All PowerPoints, JPEGs nowadays can have embedded malwares. So you may feel that, okay, what is wrong with the PDF? What is wrong with an Excel sheet? You click it and your PC may be compromised, and there may be ransomware, and you may find that whatever you have done till now is gone. And unless you pay in Bitcoins, you may not be able to recover it. Second is, when you receive messages on WhatsApp or Telegram or some other social media, don't forward it so quickly. So, okay, just for your information, in the last 2 years, India was one country which forced WhatsApp to change their whole, you can say, terms and condition and the way which functions. Number of forwards were restricted. You might be seeing now there are tick marks. Now there are certain cases where you can forward only to one person, not to a group. You can forward only 5 times. So all these limits were imposed on the request of Government of India, because in the last 2 or 3 years, many cases of mob lynching, child lifting, and people were just, you can say, lynched on the rumors only. So just to control, take care of all those aspects, the social media platforms were, you can say, requested to accept our request. The netiquettes, what to post, how much to post. Okay, so let's say a girl posts her photograph in bikini, and later on somebody removes that minor part on that body with some Photoshop. So what is wrong? You yourself uploaded such photograph and it has been misused by someone and circulated. Now the damage is done. Be very cautious. In Australia, there is a e-safety commissioner. Okay, so unlike our country, in other countries, people love to post their nude photographs also. So that is why in Australia, there is an option that you can ask the cyberspace hosting those provider, you can say, service providers, to take off your content permanently also, and they comply also. Okay, but in our country, it is not that easy. We come across during my posting in MHA, I came across few cases where morphed pictures or even intimate pictures, real pictures. There is a term which you might be aware, which is called as revenge porn. So there were two, you can say, boys and girl who were in a relationship, and everything was going fine. And one fine day, something bad happened, and they split, they broke, and either party tried to spoil the image of other. Okay, by spreading, circulating that intimate scenes. So be very cautious. Understand cyber law. Okay, learn privacy controls. The mobile device which is with you, fortunately, offers you a lot of controls to take care of your privacy and other safeguards. So kindly learn them. And today, most of the good applications allow you to take away private, you can say, permissions even after initially you have given those permissions. Okay, so just learn those controls. And next thing is calculated trust. Don't trust blindly. Even if I send you one WhatsApp link or some URL, kindly don't trust it. If you are tech savvy, then use virtual machines, sandbox, to open that URL so that your machine doesn't get compromised. Okay, but all of us can't be that tech savvy. So it is always better that if you don't find any value in it, just delete it. You receive an email, just delete it, because it doesn't make sense to you. Don't be so adventurous to click it and open it and then see it. Okay, then cyber hygiene in schools. And lastly, my request to all of you is be the change. You are the youngsters who have taken, you can say, initiative to become tech savvy, tech aware, cyber aware. So it is your duty to spread such message. There are many NGOs within our country who are trying to spread a lot of good information among RWAs, schools, colleges, teachers, as part of MHA initiative on I4C. Lot of road shows, 1 week cyber safety awareness weeks were celebrated across the country. Just because of this corona crisis, that whole drive has been now shifted to your online platforms. But once this corona pandemic goes down, again those cyber safety awareness weeks will be, you can say, started by Ministry of Home Affairs, where you can say in one go, in every district, more than 30,000, 40,000 teachers, students, you can say locality people, they are trained and made aware about the basic cyber hygiene. Okay, so my request to all of you is, you all know a lot about protecting yourself. So come forward and try to spread whatever you know. You may be knowing little, but whatever you know, kindly try to spread it to others. So let us conclude. It's 5 o'clock. So I said that by 5 o'clock, I'll try to wind up. So I'll take another 2-3 minutes more. So we talked about cyber security. We talked about integrity, confidentiality, availability, and non-repudiation. Okay. So when I send email to you, have you come across something called as read me notify? There are tools available which can give you read delivery status also, delivery notification also, and read status also. Okay, so there are techniques available. And in telecom sector, if I make a call to you, in your call detail records in your mobile, that record is there. I make a call in my mobile also, that record is there. And from the operator also, we can independently obtain our call detail records. And even if I delete, the other operator and other call detail record will still be there. So we talked about these 4 aspects, and we talked about various cyber crime scenarios: matrimonial frauds, job frauds, social engineering frauds, SIM frauds are there. Then normal hacking can be there, terrorism, cyber terrorism can be there. A lot of variety of cyber crimes are there, but the, you can say, underlying thing is whether victim is human or a computer. Ultimately, sufferer will be human being. Okay, so cyber crime can be committed against a computer or with the aid of a computer to cause some harm to society or to an individual. Okay, it could be a reputation loss, it could be a financial loss. So a wide variety of things are there. And we talked about challenges for youth. We talked about adventurous nature. We talked about blind trust. We talked about the need to have due diligence before we do something. Not we, our helping nature should not be exploited by others. And we talked about institutional mechanism in our country. We talked about Ministry of Electronics and IT, MHA, Department of Telecommunications, National Cyber Security Coordinator, and IITs, triple ITs, industry, and other bodies which are trying to help Government of India secure cyberspace. Then we also touched upon online safeguards throughout the presentation. We touched upon some things. And lastly, there are certain resources which all of you can visit at your convenience and enrich your knowledge further. One thing which I didn't cover in the presentation was cyberswachhtakendra.gov.in. So it's a free resource by Government of India. It can help you remove bots. If your PC is infected with bots, you can go to that site and use their tools to clean your PC. And in all probability, it might be able to clean your PC. You can trust this site. So this is all from my side. Hope you got some knowledge, some awareness about online safeguards pertaining to cyber security and cyber crime. So if any questions are there, I'll be happy to take the questions.
Definitely, sir. We have not some a lot of information that you have shared with us in such a short span of time, and all of these resources also. We'll be sure to go through them because, yesterday as well as today, we've discussed a lot of things, and it's constantly been coming up that what does one do in the face of such danger? And you have honestly provided us a certain kind of hope that the government is doing things, and there are certain things that we can do ourselves as well as certain things, certain policies in place which and somebody mentioned in the chat as well, which I completely agree with, that we're going back as informed citizens, right? We're going back with a lot of arsenal if in case something goes wrong. So that has been great, and I really thank you for all of the information on behalf of everybody that you've shared with us. We'll just take up two questions very briefly. So it was asked that Varini Gupta asked, amid COVID, cyber crime is more noticeable in the realm of sexual abuse. Ensuring safety on social media is important, and we understand that there are policies in place for such actions. However, on encrypted apps like Snapchat, where data is not stored, that is that snap that you've sent, how do you ensure safety if somebody is being threatened or is at risk? And what should the next steps be? Because there are catfish and fake accounts most times, and these are not picked up by the algorithms even when reported, because they don't show any traditional signs of malicious activity, and this loop in turn gives the perpetrators chances to manipulate and blackmail most times for explicit photos or texts, and also gives them liberty to pass lewd remarks.
Yeah, very you can say important question. So let me answer it that way. First thing we all need to understand is whenever we use a social media, whichever platform you use, whether it is Snapchat or any other platform, government is nowhere in picture unless something wrong happens. Okay, so it's a contract between user and that service provider. Okay, so everybody is free to make use of that platform whatever way they like. Okay, so now you mentioned about that encrypted or posting some other stuff leading to blackmail, etc. So just try to understand why that situation came up where blackmail could happen. So the chat started, the friendliness started, some things got exchanged. All those things can only lead to blackmail. So if we play safe, there are chances that we may not fall into that trap. Here I'll just again, you can note down one thing, Sweetie 2.0. All of you can note down. So it's a chat bot developed by many consortium of international bodies. It's a chat bot which tries to trick people to believe that it's a girl which is trying to chat with them, and people are tempted to chat in an obscene manner, whatever they want to do. So at the back end, government is trying to capture all that chats to find, or you can say to reach that person who is indicating perverse behavior. Okay, so leave aside that. If something wrong happens by mistake, whether it was intentional or unintentional, my suggestion to all of you will be, don't keep it close, you can say, to up to yourself. Be open, report to cybercrime.gov.in without visiting police station, under the category of, because if it's an obscene thing, there is a special section on cybercrime.gov.in which is pertaining to crime against women and children, where we can report two category of complaints. One is child sex abuse. So if you can say the young boy or girl is below 18, you can report incident under that category. If the person is adult, you can pick the crime against women and upload that photograph or whatever incident is there, details of that incident. And at present, the time given to police to act on such complaint is 36 hours. Okay, so that from the time complaint is booked, within 36 hours, the concerned police authority is required to see it, examine it, and if it happens to be a case of blackmail or spoiling somebody's reputation in cyberspace, within 36 hours, the notice goes to the concerned intermediary, be it Snapchat or you can say, although Snapchat and WhatsApp and Telegram have certain constraints because they are end-to-end encrypted and it is not in public domain. Okay, so we can't take off content from those places, but the only thing is that particular contact can be reported through WhatsApp or Snapchat also, and that content can be blacklisted by the concerned intermediary. Okay, and if that content reaches open space, open cyberspace, then the police forces can issue notice to the concerned intermediary, which is putting that photograph or the content in public space, to take it off within 36 hours. So the whole cycle is 72 hours from the time you report such complaint. And believe me, there are many cases where girls supported by their parents or by some other NGOs or friends took step to report such incidents to police. The perpetrators have been booked. They were nabbed. So it is difficult to nab people, but it is not impossible. So once you come forward, the victim comes forward, there a lot can be done. But my only suggestion to all of you is, don't play blindly in cyberspace. Think before you post. Even if it is your own husband or wife, don't trust. Even your trusted girlfriend, don't trust. Okay, so whatever has to be done, let it be face to face, not through social media, because it's so dangerous. I still remember one particular case where the one father was struggling to get one photograph from a Facebook page removed. It was not an obscene photograph. Why I'm sharing this incident with you is, it was not an obscene photograph. It was photograph of his daughter with a child and a man. Now, what happened? This particular girl ran away from home, went to Nepal, stayed there for 3 years with a particular man whomsoever she liked. And after 3 years, they broke and she came back. There was no child, there was no family. But this boy created a Facebook page and put his or her photograph along with a child, claiming that this child belongs to her. And this was spoiling, and this was forcing that girl to take the extreme step of committing suicide. And this father was desperate to get that photograph removed, and all the intermediaries were saying, what is wrong with this photograph? Now you can understand, the blackmail may not only be because of obscene photographs. Blackmail can be a reputational loss also. So be very careful when we post. See, we all have a habit of clicking our photographs. When we visit celebrities, we will stand with them and take a selfie and then post it on. And who else is there in that frame? Have we ever seen? Who is going to cut paste our photograph and use it for some other purpose, nefarious purpose? Be very cautious. Okay, sorry for taking that little longer to answer that question. So self-control, good cyber behavior is the key to, you can say, protecting one's you can say privacy in cyberspace. And but if something wrong happens, don't be afraid, come forward, tell the police, and police will try its level best to protect you. Next
Sir,
question.
that's very reassuring to know, sir. I see there's been a hand raised, Christy Sunny.
Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a question. Do we have time to?
Yeah, Christy.
Okay. So we spoke a lot about how people have been subjected to cyberbullying and how people abuse the content that individuals post. And there are a lot of I mean, recently we even had the boys locker room case, and then that became very popular. I agree that there's a lot being done in the space of curbing all these through rules and regulations, and Facebook has set up policies and content that it will remove. But can having better social awareness improve the situation? And can we also include this when it comes to dealing with cyberbullying and dealing with, for example, morphing photos? I'm not saying that everybody who does this unconsciously, but there might be a element where somebody is doing something without understanding the full implication of that, or because they aren't sensitized about the gender issues and such. So can we, when we talk about cybersecurity, can we, especially on social media, can we also include sensitizing people about social issues?
Yeah, Christy, you are absolutely right here. That is the reason for the last about 5 years, uh, government is trying its level best
Mm-hmm.
to, you can say, strengthen the foundation. Now you can understand that the children are exposed to mobile phones and social media from the day one they come to this, you can say, universe. Okay, and nobody is telling them what is good, what is bad,
Yes.
and that is the challenge here. Parents also are responsible, teachers in the school are responsible, and the stuff which is available on internet in cyberspace, that also is largely responsible. There had been cases, I don't know whether you remember or not, in Uttarakhand. A case happened where a poor, you can say, girl was, you can say, subjected to abuse by a few boys after watching some, you can say, videos in cyberspace. And because of that, High Court of Uttarakhand took note, and they directed Government of India to block more than 800 porn websites in the country. Okay, so why judiciary had to come forward? And does it mean that 800 websites, if we have blocked in our country, people will not be able to see the such content?
No, it doesn't.
It is not going to happen. And remember one thing: the whole industry or the cyberspace makes a lot of money from such stuff. If you see the internet statistics, I would suggest that you kindly have a look at the statistics. Maybe more than 90% traffic data is consumed for watching such kind of stuff. So if at a, you can say, young age, where the mind is not developed so, you can say, beautifully, and they are exposed to such content, what they will do? You watch movies, but the movies show a lot of violence. So bullying is related to that violence. Okay, so parents are scolding their children, and they try to vent out their feelings somewhere else. So in nutshell, we can say here that it has to start from us, not from others. Okay, so if we are aware, let us try to spread awareness in schools. As I told you that NCERT has now included cyber hygiene in the syllabus of 9th and 10th class. Maybe private schools might already be doing it, and slowly and slowly from class 5th onwards, the cyber etiquettes or the netiquettes must be taught to all the young students at an early age. Okay. The second thing is on cybercrime.gov.in, as part of cyber volunteer, there is something called as cyber awareness promoter. It's a category of volunteers. So the people, students, or young or old, who are having a lot of knowledge about cyber awareness and how to protect and how to do good cyber behavior, they can enroll as cyber awareness promoters. Okay, and they can go to localities, schools, they can take lectures, colleges. For your information, many of you can also enroll with information security education and awareness portal and become as a certified trainer or master trainer for spreading cyber awareness. Okay, so you can say, government alone cannot do much in this regard. We are a country of 1 billion. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and we have a digital dividend where young people are more. Okay, so many people have to come forward to contribute in spreading cyber awareness. So Christy, my lesson, you can say, message to all of you is that if each one of you can pledge to spread awareness among 100 people, so just think, today there are more than 60 participants in this session, so 6,000, and those 6,000 can, you can say, enlighten more. So this way, if you start the chain, I think maybe in next 1 year's time, the awareness level within this country might be much more than what is existing at present, and the number of cyber crimes may be quite less. I won't say zero, but quite less as compared to what we are facing right now.
Absolutely, sir. I agree with
Thank you,
you.
sir.
And there's a lot for us to think about in this space.